Start. Okay, today we are going to learn about the data types in Python. So, today our presentation topic is this data types in Python. Now, these are the different data types in Python. First one is something called string, then integer, then something called tuple, then something called list, and then at last we'll see something called dictionary. So these are the five different. We'll see about this five different data types of Python with some example. Okay. So when we are talking about string data type, see, so we can say this is a string data type. This is an example of string data type. So here what you are doing, we are declaring a variable called s, where we are assigning a value, or rather we can say a word, or we can say a string. String means what? Collection of characters. So when we are talking about the string, word, or something like that, so in that case we are going to say it is like ABC. So what we are doing? We are storing ABC inside the variable called s. Similarly, we are declaring another variable called a, where we are going to store a value or simply a character called a. So, v. So here we can say this is, and if somebody will ask you like what type of data is stored, or like what type of data is stored in variable s and when variable a, we can say string data type is stored in variable s and in variable a. So this is the example which we can say about the string data type in Python. It's a very common data, as you know like unlike the other programming languages where we are going to define a variable, we are going to specify what is the data type, but here we are not specifying anything, because dynamically Python is intelligent enough to understand what kind of values are being stored in a particular variable, and accordingly this data type allocation task is controlled by Python itself. Okay, this is one of the significances of Python language. Now let us come to another data type called integer. What I am saying? I am saying a equal to 10. That means a is a variable where I am going to store a number called 10. Significance of this is what, like 10, when we are going to store, we are not giving any single quotes or double quotes. Because if we give any single quotes or double quotes, then that is going to be treated as a string. So this way the Python compiler is going to understand, fine, this a is carrying an integer value. So is going to allocate the data type integer, okay, for a variable. So this way what we have seen another data type called integer in Python. Next, very important, like tuple data type. Suppose, now see, first of all we should know what is the need of tuple data type. Suppose we have to store, let's say, a student name and marks. See, when we are going to say student name, definitely it should be in alphabets. But when we are going to talk about the marks, definitely it should be in number. So now the question is, how can we store both the name and the number, like a string value and a number, an integer together? So that is why we are having the Python data type. This Python language is providing us a data type called tuple. So tuple is what? Is another data type where I am going to store integer, I am going to store character also. So here if we look at this example, see, this a is what? This a is a variable, which this a variable is going to store small a 100 and a01. So this is a character, 100 is a number, a01 this is also a character. Rather we can say it's a string. So now we can say this tuple has got the ability to store the character as well as the number also. So let us, now you can ask me like where we are going to use this. Suppose we have to store a student details or a student record. When we are talking about a student record, that means we are storing like so roll number, student name, age, and all these things. So we are going to store them together. How can we store them? We can take the help of this tuple data type. Now, significance of this tuple point to be noted, this tuple data type when we are going to use, we are going to store the values in within the first bracket only. This is syntactically you have to remember this. This tuple values, when you are going to store the data in a tuple data type, the values must be within the first bracket open and first bracket close. This is the significance. From this first bracket open and first bracket close, we can understand or we can find out what type of like what is the data type of in this Python variable like A. So we can very easily find out, we can say if this is a tuple. This particular variable is carrying tuple data type. Where I am going to store character, I can store word or rather string, I can store number also. Now, significance of this tuple data type is it is not mutable. Mutable, you cannot update it, you cannot re-modify it. Suppose see today, let's say you have stored this value. Suppose I want to store another value, let's say A02. So what will happen? Python will not do anything with this particular variable. It will just create another variable. Or it will just create another variable of tuple data type and is going to try to store the new one. So suppose if I want to add something like A02, so what will happen? This one is going to be erased from the memory. Another variable A with tuple data type is going to be created and A100, A01 and this A02 is going to be added. So remember one thing, tuple data type is not going to be updated. You cannot do anything. You cannot add, cannot delete, cannot modify any data because it is a mutable data type. Sorry, it's not a mutable data type. You cannot do any kind of modification and all these things. That is why it is immutable. I think you got the significance of this tuple. This is a very important thing which we must know about the tuple data type. Next comes to list data type. Now see, in list also, see, what we can do, we can store this like different values, something from character, something from string, something from number. But the significance is, look at this one. In case of tuple, it was first bracket open, first bracket close. But in case of list, it is third bracket open, third bracket close. And very important thing, it is mutable. Always you can update the existing tuple data type. Whereas like in, list data type, So list is always mutable, whereas tuple is not mutable, it is immutable. You cannot do anything. Once you create a variable with tuple data type, you cannot do any kind of modification. But once you create any list data type, in a variable with a list data type, you can always do the modification because list is mutable. This is the major difference between a tuple data type and a list data type variable. Next comes to something called dictionary. So this is what a dictionary. So this A is what is a variable which is going to store some values like this. And remember one thing, these values are present. First significance of this list dictionary is this is under curly bracket opens or second bracket open, second bracket close. And 1 colon ABC. So this is what? This is an item. 2 colon XYZ. This is also an item. So if somebody will ask you, find how many items are there in this particular data type, dictionary data type, will say 2. This is one item, this is another item. Now these two items is divided into two different parts. One is called key and the other one is called value. This 1, 2, they are known as key. ABC, XYZ, they are known as values. So if somebody will ask you, find what is the value of key 1, I will say ABC. What is the value of key 2? I will say XYZ. So this way your dictionary data. So this is what? Key value pair. 1, 2, these are the left hand side. Suppose this is an item. The left hand side of the item is known as key. The right hand side of the item is known as ABC. So these two are like that separate, this colon acts as a separator between key and value pair. So this way, actually, the dictionary data type is supposed to be stored in any Python variable. So what you have seen, we have seen five different variables: string, integer, tuple, list, and dictionary. Now understand one thing. See this bracket, they have got a significance. Like for tuple, we are going to use set first bracket open, first bracket close, and remember it is not mutable. For list, it is third bracket open, third bracket close. It is mutable. Always you can update it. Always you can update the existing list, which you cannot do in case of tuple. And significance of this dictionary is it should be within the second bracket open, second bracket close, and the key value pair and the item concept is available over here. So when we are talking about this item, how many items are there? Again, I am repeating, 2 items are there. So like 1 ABC is an item, 2 XYZ is also another item. Now this each and every item is carrying 2 parts. One is the key and the other one is the value. And this colon is basically what? The separator between key and value. So this way we have learned the different data types of Python with some example. I hope you have enjoyed this class. Thank you.